Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the SKNIS Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.
I'm Ian Richards, welcoming you to the season debut of InFocus. It's the first edition for 2026, and we're so glad that you are here. Now, January 9th, 2026 marks a defining moment for culture and creativity in St. Kitts and Nevis. With the groundbreaking of the country's first creative arts center, the government is making a powerful statement that creativity is no longer a hobby, but a pillar of national development. The center will serve as the largest integrated hub for creatives in the Federation, bringing together disciplines from performing and visual arts to film, gaming, robotics, and much, much more. It's a space where heritage meets innovation, where creatives, innovators, and entrepreneurs can grow and flourish in a purpose-built ecosystem designed to expand the orange economy. Well, joining us today to discuss all about the Creative Arts Center and the expansion of the orange economy is the Minister of Creative Economy, the Honourable Samal Duggins, Director of the Creative Economy, Roberitine, Webbe, and a member of the Creative Task Force and also the Registrar for the Intellectual Property Office, Mrs. Jihan Williams-Knight. Stay with us for InFocus as we go beyond the bricks and mortar of the Creative Arts Center.
We are here today to affirm a belief that creativity will no longer be considered as just a hobby. And the design of this center was deliberate and it was also inclusive. This, as you see, will be a creative ecosystem, an environment intentionally designed as a home for every sector of the creative arts and for every lover of creativity. For the first time in our nation's history, we are creating a single integrated space that welcomes and supports the cultural heritage, performing arts, culinary arts, gaming and innovation, visual arts and craft, arts administration, cosmetic arts, literary arts, and also film and media. One space that embodies all of it. We affirm that the creative sector will be the highlight. It will be the main attraction and the main attraction for a prosperous future for St. Kitts and Nevis.
Thanks for staying with us, and you would have just heard the words of the Minister responsible for the creative economy, the Honourable Samal Duggins, and the Minister himself is here to share a lot more about the Creative Arts Centre, as we mentioned also Ms. Webb, who is the Director of the Creative Economy, and Jihan Williams, who is a task force member, all very importantly and very intricately involved with the Creative Arts Centre. Thanks everyone for being here.
Sure.
Well, thank you, Ian, for having us, yes.
So, Minister, let's start off with a discussion about the symbolism of having a National Arts Center for St. Kitts and Nevis, a creative arts center. Of course, that is something that you have been very passionate about, and all of us here, including myself. So, while I'm not here to give my opinion on it, of course, I'd want to get opinion from each and every one of you about the symbolism of having the National Creative Arts Center.
Well, for us, creativity represents not just a hobby. It represents a force for economic development. And any type of economic development, if it is to be strong, has to have a home. And right now, our dancers, our musical artists, our cultural practitioners, they all are scattered across the country seeking for places to ply their craft, to store the equipment. And we said, no more of that. We need to bring all of that collectively together on the one hub, on the one space that empowers them and directs the creative industry in a way forward that is more powerful than ever before. And with this Creative Arts Center that we see now, I believe it's a wonderful home, actually, for the creatives to have that kind of empowerment.
Ms. Webb?
The Creative Arts Center is something that is most passionate for me. Growing up as a dancer, being in pageants, you've always had to seek places such as the community centers, sometimes occupied with all sorts of different things, and we truly never had any space that we can call ours. And what stands out more for me is that it's not just a performing arts center, because for years we would have been rallying for performing arts. That would have been the word that was trending. We now have a creative arts center so that all areas of the arts are integrated in that hub. So it's not just the performing arts, but all areas of the arts, from culinary to robotics, innovation and gaming, to literary arts. All of it has a space, and it's not just a space. It is a space that is very functional, forward thinking, and I think everybody will be most, not just satisfied, but truly be surprised by the innovation that is there, because it is really a huge space that encompasses everything. So I think, and as the economic side with it, there are spaces for persons to have their own businesses, because even when it came to the commercial side of things, not just the training of it, there's truly not enough spaces in St. Kitts for it, or affordable spaces. St. Kitts and Nevis and affordable spaces for our creatives. And so the Creative Arts Center is beyond just training and laboratory, but also would focus on the commercial side and providing that economic benefits to all of our creatives.
Well, for me, I think the word that comes to mind first is possibilities. We often think of our creatives as the ones that we know, the people who we see on shows, or we see recitals. But what about the people who may just have a little talent but they're afraid to come out? I think having a central place where you could learn and you could also try without any pressure, without the worrying about your event flopping because nobody knows you, so nobody's going to come out. I think it's going to give people a space to springboard, to try, to even try new things. So maybe there's a space where we could have dance classes, a one-off dance class, so I don't have to join a particular company, but because there is a space now where even a dancer could decide, hey, I'm going to do a Friday afternoon class on salsa, and people could go and just try. So I think it's a great space where we're going to see a lot of people just grow and expand, and most importantly, professionalize. It also will encourage people to professionalize. So for me, I am really excited about the possibilities, not just for established creatives, but for budding creatives, people who don't even know they're creatives yet. So it's exciting.
Yes, and to add to that excitement, you're in a position within government, within your different fields, of course, to help to drive that forward, to move that along. Certainly it must give you that special feeling as well.
Yes, for me especially, because my whole office is based on protecting creativity, and helping people to understand that your art, your talent, this is the source of property, and you could grow income based on your talents and your creativity, no matter your age, no matter your background. So now to have a space where you could do that, this is really exciting for us at the Intellectual Property Office as well.
Now, Minister, let me come back to you in terms of the center itself now, because of course there is of course the Sustainable Island State agenda that the Prime Minister has outlined that St. Kitts and Nevis is pursuing, and an important part of that pillar is the orange economy. So how does this center define how the government views and treats the creative arts sector, the orange economy, and the tremendous potential of that sector?
Well, just by the mere fact of such a huge investment being made in the orange economy, when we think about our national development and the scale of a center like this, we recognize that this is a huge investment. And that huge investment is being made
in our creative sector. And that speaks volumes of how the government views the creative sector and the possibilities going forward. When we look at even the revenue that is being generated from the creative sector, and we could even turn to something like our National Carnival, where while we complete this economic impact assessment for 2025, we could review the 2024 economic impact assessment. And for a carnival in which we invest under $5 million, we see over $21 million in economic activity coming back to our federation. Imagine what that would be like, having a creative arts center that could function 365 days a year, because carnival is only a matter of just over 2 weeks. And so now we can generate this kind of activity annually and become a hub for creative activity in the region. We looking even outside of that, because the center itself is a facility. But like I said to a team just recently, building a facility is one thing, and I'm happy to have been building that facility. But to me, what that facility represents is a headquarter for programs. And so something like our own Creative Arts, Creative Power Arts Convention, CPAC, that convention and its development can be tied directly to that center and become more consistent, become an annual, and well, all through the year, and we drive creative development, not just for St. Kitts and Nevis, but for the region, with a wonderful facility to facilitate that development. And so for me, the government's vision in tying infrastructure to programs beyond even our shores, that I think that tells us a huge story about what the government thinks about the future of creative development, even now.
And importantly, of course, creatives, they are entrepreneurs as well. They produce music, they write poetry, they copyrights and all of these things that can generate income for themselves. And of course, as the Minister of Small Business, this also ties into your field as well.
Directly in. And you know, interestingly, that's why we merged the creative economy with the Ministry of Small Business as well, because we see the intricate link between both of them. And the story that you want to project is that our creatives are business people.
Okay, so Ms. Webb, let's jump to you, and of course, Ms. Williams-Knight, I would like for you to chime in as well too. What went into shaping the look, the feel, the amenities within this Creative Arts Center?
Right, so I'll start with the consultation part of it. We know that this is something, having an infrastructure facility for the arts is something we always wanted, but it's more than just saying we want it. We need to know what are we going to put in it, what resources are needed, what is it being used for, and so forth. So when the Department of Creative Economy was launched in 2023, we would have done a series of consultations. Those consultations were over 14 different consultations, both sectoral and also based on where you live, so constituency consultations. Out of those consultations, a lot of talk about infrastructure spaces, finding spaces for creatives came up, what resources they needed, and so forth. And we would have compiled that information. When those consultations were completed, we then transitioned into when we were finalized on an investor who actually, were eager and excited to create what we really need in St. Kitts, which is the Creative Arts Center. We moved to a public consultation, which was done in October of 2023. We had that consultation at Kuna. We are about 50 to 60 creatives attended. At that time, the developer would have had, an idea of what designs they would have brought and so forth, because it's more than just, it's a difference in terms of coming from scratch and asking people to just give their input, rather than when they have a design already and then you tell them, okay, no, this works, this doesn't work. It makes what you need more practical, and you get a better insight on what needs adjusting. And so that would have been done in October. From that public consultation that was had, we generated a task force. So Jihan would have actually been one of the members to attend that consultation, and we created a task force to basically revise what not just revise, actually give all the input that was needed in terms of creating what we wanted, what SKNIS and NIVIS required, what our creatives desired and need to push forward. And we would have been in many meetings, going through many different sketches. We also have a architect on our task force there, Mr. Darion Fleming, who was able to translate our creative terms and what we want into the actual, technical terms that's required for construction and so forth. And we would have had those back and forth emails exchange, different consultations with the developer and ourselves. We would have also had one-on-one consultations with some sectors that we possibly don't know about. So for example, innovation and gaming, robotics, the robotics team, what's their official name?
Robotics
Association was a part of, that one of those consultations, and we basically just came together and ensured that it included all of what we really wanted. And I think that what the developers has produced is exactly what we need, even more forward thinking than we could have actually thought of initially. And if you would like me to go through some of what is going to be included in that center.
I'll come to that, yes,
Okay.
but I would like to get
I'm happy for that, Ian, because I think there's something that Ms. Webb didn't say. Maybe she doesn't want to say it because of her position, but I could say it. At the public consultation, the public ripped it to shreds.
We did.
They did not like what was presented.
We could give some comments. The shape is too boxy. The structure does not seem suitable for the cultural aesthetic, and so that was entirely revised. Now we have the volcanic looking that
based on one of the actual mountains in SKNIS. So I think sometimes it's important to mention these things because you want people to know this is not something that was thrust down our throats, that they presented something, people did not like it, and we essentially had to ask the developers to go back to the drawing board, or people don't want this. So instead of then constantly going through a process of, presenting version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4 to the public, the ministry made the decision to start the task force, compile all of the comments that they would have received over the consultations that they had, including the public consultation. There were comments online. The people really did contribute to the structure and what's in it. So what we have now is a reflection of what people want.
Give us a sense of the task force. How many persons, who was represented?
Well, I was there as a creative myself from literary arts, and I always say literary artists always get forgotten. So I was happy about that. And we had Marcia Jeffers, dance, Keisha.
Dance and more.
Yes, Keisha Isaac Adams, theater, Miss Julie Martin. Everyone knows Julie, icon in the dance industry. Darion Fleming, as was mentioned before, as an architect. But of course, with us was also, representatives from the developers, Mr. Farron Lawrence, and am I forgetting anyone?
There was Shavani Slake as well. She represents fashion and visual arts community. And as we said before, apart from just those task force members, some of our task force members would have met one-on-one with other sectors that we are not as have the expertise or knowledge about what type of height is required for a room, because a big prop needs to enter. So all of those were little discussions that turned into our conversations, because a theater rooms need to bring in, or the performance room needs to bring in a prop that is this high. And so
floor has to be a certain
building,
width and material, and
or you can't have a pole sticking out there because mirrors are there and this is for dance. And even the acoustic part of things were also considered in terms of the music, not just for performance, but the recording studios, even warehouses. It was very intricate and detailed in terms of what we really worked on.
Right. Okay. And just clear up something for me, the location of it, because there are some persons who are still not sure where the facility is going to be located. Where is that?
So in that context, very difficult to describe because it's on the hillside, just coming off a connery toward Frigate Bay. At that hillside, there are a couple of acres that this facility will take up on that hillside.
So how I describe it, if you're driving along Kim Collins Highway heading towards the airport, when you reach to the area where there is that fenced-in area, just look to your right. Look up on the mountain to the right.
To the right? Well, yes,
if you're driving, so you're going, you're driving
okay.
towards the airport.
Right,
so when
okay.
you get to that area where it's fenced in, look to the right.
Okay.
But I want to also speak on the positioning of the Creative Arts Center and the artistry behind it. From that position on the hillside, even from Port Zante and Bastia, it will stand iconically as a symbol. And that was somewhat intentional because, again, we want to ensure that our creative sector is recognized for this true value.
Okay, there's so many things that we need to get to, and I'm going to skip a bit, but I want to get to the amenities before we take our first break. Ms. Webbe, you spoke about it some in terms of all of the disciplines that are going to be represented there. And there's a graphic that we want to show, A10. David, if you could just bring up the graphic A10. But I want us to go over very briefly some of the amenities because I know it's a lot. And this actually could be the whole show. But just briefly, and I have to, take note, persons who are looking at us on screen. Again, if you're listening to us on radio, you can jump on social media or catch us live on ZIZ right now. But tell us a bit about some of the facilities, the disciplines that are housed in this Creative Arts Center.
Right, so before I go into depth, we have 4 blocks at the Creative Arts Center. There's the Arts block, which is more on the training side and the laboratories. We have the Arena block, which would host like the major events. That's where the big housing of 3,000 plus people would be. We have the Theater block, which is more hall and enclosed performance. And even for smaller spaces, Jihan was given the example of, you might just have a play that you want to put on, and you don't have 500 persons to come to that play, and you just need a smaller space to host those smaller type of events. We have spaces for that. So it's not just the big arena area that you have to have thousands of people in order to come. And then we have the market block, which is for the commercial spaces and public spaces. So in the laboratory, we have areas for literary arts. We have areas for robotics, visual arts, music, dance, modeling, classrooms, which they dubbed smart rooms, culinary arts. And just to give you an example, for culinary arts, it's not just a room. You have a small training restaurant, you have a large kitchen and versatile equipment there. You have spaces for training and workstations, and then you have an exhibition and competition area, and you have storage. So it's all encompassing. It's comprehensive. It's not just, oh, we have a room for culinary and you just go there, one kitchen or one stove, and that is it. It takes in consideration those persons who want to become professional culinary artists and so forth. We have areas for literary. In literary, you have a library, you have the reading room, you have the bookshop as well. And then you have co-working spaces that sometimes you just need a space that you don't necessarily just for your mind to explore, and it doesn't need a dedicated big space, but just a networking space or small meetings you need to have and so forth. We have the performance spaces, which would have the appropriate dressing rooms and restrooms in it. We have places for innovation and play. So beyond just the rooms for robotics, you also have those, entertainment and recreational spaces such as a bowling alley, the bar and restaurant and so forth. We have theater studios, dance studios, as I've mentioned before, that can hold adequate number of dancers.
When you say theater, you're talking about drama?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yes. So we're talking about drama, We have dance and acrobatic studios that you can't just fit just 10 to 15 dancers, but up to 40 dancers, and it's a number of different studios that are multidisciplinary. So it doesn't mean just because you have dance studios, modeling can't go in there, and other different areas of performing arts can't go in there. Even cultural practitioners are there. We just call it cultural practitioners at Masquerade is dance. So all of that space can be used. We have music areas. We have recording studio, production studio, rehearsal room, sound booth, visual arts. You have a number of different classrooms, computer lab, because visual arts is not just about painting, but we have the visual graphic designers and web designers and more. We have meeting rooms and offices. We have a dedicated storage room that can hold the appropriate resources that we have. And we have a lot more that I am trying to get through, but that's just on the laboratory side of things, which means just the training side. Right. I haven't gone to performance side of things. Yes, or commercial.
A question would be, why include robotics? Because persons may say that robotics is more of a technical AVIC type of activity as opposed to looking at them as creative. So why have a space there for robotics?
What is creativity? I'm questioning you, and it's assumed that the technical, in order for you to create that technology, you have to have some sort of creativity in there, and the robotics provides solutions, creative solutions to the different challenges that you may have and make the world, more easy and more tech advanced. So I think it's most appropriate to call them creatives. Anybody
create? They do create, yeah.
That's it. When you look at the robotic sector, it's actually such an advanced creative sector that it drives everything else.
So we expect them not necessarily just to also look at in terms of like the hardware, but also software as well too. I would imagine the coding and the different areas.
Of course.
Right.
And we even they go away and enter so many different competitions. We may even be able to come and host our own very own robotics competition, international competition right here.
And they did so very well at the World Expo that St. Kitts and Nevis was represented at in Osaka, Japan last year. We got lots of rave reviews about the presentation that they made with the robot. That's something I don't quite remember the name right now, but certainly I see the future as very exciting. They can be some of the best of St. Kitts and Nevis.
That's right.
In terms of the mind and how innovative we are and what we can do to achieve in terms of, as we say, punching above our weight.
Right.
Right. Okay, so we're going to have to take our first break, and then we're going to come back and discuss a bit more about the developers, and also to talk a bit about what is in the layout that I don't see. Because one of the concerns that persons had is like, okay, I'm going to go to a show, but where do I park? A good question. So we'll have that discussion when we get back. Stay right there, viewers and listeners. We'll be right back with more In Focus.
We moved from King Sugar, which shaped our history and resilience, into tourism, opening our doors to the world. We strengthened our services and financial sectors, positioning ourselves globally. And now we have deliberately expanded into the creative economy, what is also termed the orange economy, recognizing that our culture and creativity are among our most valuable assets. Our people have always been creative. Long before there were formal studios or centers, our artists were creating in bedrooms, garages, backyard, and community spaces. Our musicians, dancers, designers, painters, writers, and performers have carried our identity far beyond our shows. And as a government, we believe that it is time to meet that talent with the necessary infrastructure to continue to push forward.
Welcome back to In Focus, and we are discussing the National Arts Creative Center that will be built here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and you would have just heard from the Prime Minister, the Honourable Dr. Terence Drew, at the groundbreaking ceremony for that center that was held on January 9th. And we're having our discussion with the Minister of Creative Economy, the Honourable Samal Duggins, the Director of the Creative Economy, Roberitine Webbe, and Jihan Williams-Knight, who is a member of the Creative Task Force and also the Registrar of the Intellectual Property Office. Minister, let's talk a bit about the developers, Prime Developments.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about their relationship with the government and how this all came about.
Well, Prime Developments have been in St. Kitts and Nevis. They actually are citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis by the Citizenship by Investment Program, so economic citizens. But they have been doing developments in our federation well over a decade. Their first development would have been Imperial Bay. I think that's what it's called.
Yes.
Yes, Imperial Bay, and that's over in the Half Moon area. Successfully, they have done developments across the world. In fact, one of the lead members of that development group is an engineer who said he has done over 170 high-profile developments globally. And so this is one. I was able to see some of their developments in Dubai, because they have quite a bit of developments in Dubai. When I was negotiating this center with them, they took me to some of their developments. And all of their developments have unique touches about it. And one of the things I appreciate about Prime Developments is their commitment to excellence and their commitment to completion. Because throughout this whole process that has been now some 3 years almost, they have said, if we can't finish it, we won't start it. And so to me, that was one of the selling points. That you're dealing with people, one, who are committed to excellence, but two, is committed to completing what they started. And I think that is worth noting. But in terms of their relationship with the country, it spans well over a decade.
And they've also demonstrated that commitment to invest in the development of St. Kitts and Nevis and our people here.
Correct. And they've sponsored quite a bit of initiatives that we've had as well nationally, in some cases down to our National Carnival.
So what is their role in the project now as it rolls out into the construction phase and also post-construction? What will be their responsibilities?
So as developers, they are the lead organizers and promoters of the actual center. But they have hired a team, a contractor, and that contractor will be leading the actual physical construction of the center, and who will then contract our local contractors to be able to perform in different functional parts, because this is quite a structure. If I were to give it in terms of visually an idea, let's think about the main building for the St. Kitts Marriott Hotel, and you look at the scale of that building. This structure is similar in scale. And so you see there's a lot of areas that our local contractors and our people will have to be involved in, and it will create quite a bit of working opportunities and learning and development opportunities as well, because here we have high-tech contractors coming in to teach our people of the new skills in development.
And of course, with the Sustainable Island State Agenda, as we discussed, it will be essentially a smart building, be able to withstand the major hurricanes, certainly that we expect to come based on climate change and the way it's impacting St. Kitts and Nevis.
Indeed. Water storage was considered significantly, how it collects and stores water. It was also considered its impact on the environment and how the building is shaped, contoured into the hillside. Even that was considered to reduce the impact of excavation. And so this building isn't just a structure that was, randomly designed or developed. Outside of the consultation with creatives, they have designed it with the environment and our people in mind as well.
Parking?
And then there's parking, yes. In fact, at the base level of the center, there's a parking lot, the main parking lot. And at the upper level, just behind the center, there's another parking lot. But beyond that, the developers have a vision even beyond the actual structure. And part of their vision is to adopt the green space below the center so that they have a botanical garden and preserve it, because we understand that that sits at an important and vital resource our aquifer, and we want to protect that as much as possible. Yes.
Okay. So, Minister, as we talk about the center, you mentioned at the opening, at the groundbreaking ceremony, that the center will help to change the perception of creativity from a hobby to a pillar of national development, which I would have mentioned earlier. Now, how do you do that? How do you change perceptions? And I want to narrate down some to creatives, first of all, because again, being the Minister of Small Business, there's that side of entrepreneurship that they should also think about. It's not just a matter of writing a song or recording a little CD on a, we don't use CDs anymore. So putting it on a pen drive or uploading it to YouTube and being able to realize the potential of that song. You consider someone like, not necessarily to call names, but I'll just say that some persons from St. Kitts who've gone big, who've gone international in terms of their music as well too. And also create the mindset of financial institutions. They need to change their perceptions because they have to see creatives, and I'd like everybody to jump in as well too, in terms of there must be bankable ideas. That's important as well too. And also, I would say parents, because let's face it, most parents want their children to do something that would bring in a lot of money. Traditional, and they're not sure that being a creative can actually bring that in, because it's not necessarily being something that is developed here. For instance, we heard about persons in the States who go to Hollywood and try to make it big, but then it doesn't work out, and that has not been our story, because we don't have no Hollywood. Of course, we have that relationship with Nigeria. That's a different story now in terms of Bollywood. But talk to us about changing the perceptions of creatives, financial institutions, parents.
Well, Ian, to address that question, the first thing is ownership. The fact that your posture changes when you could say, that is mine. And so that creative that looks at that building and says, that's my home. That recording artist that says, I have a studio there. That dancer that says, I have a studio there. That performer that says, that stage, that was built for me. That changes your entire posture and your approach to everything. And it changes the way people respect you. Because right now, what happens? They have to go to a community center, beg for an opportunity, or somebody that has a space and beg for a chance to be able to use it. We are saying, no, I'm going home. I'm going to my space that was built for me, with my ideas included in it. So that changes the posture. Now, beyond that is training. Like I said, this is a headquarter for program. And so the programs that we are also instituting will train the parents as to the opportunities available in the creative sector and how best to harness them. We'll train the creatives into how best to harness those opportunities for yourselves. Also, where you could direct your creative energies. Because a lot of times we have creatives and they may start off in one thing and they find they're even better in another thing. I mean, I can speak to that. When I started off, I just wanted to be a musician. And in doing that, some of my greatest success came as a video producer. But I did that because I needed to produce a song so people could hear my music. And sometimes these things happen and that development occurs. So yes, I think the center will change the perception. One, from giving more pride to our creatives. Two, by earning them more respect with the general public in understanding that this space is theirs and they have a home. And three, by training and development across the creative sector, across persons involved, and the general public as well, to understand the sector much better.
And the financial aspect of it, in terms of being able to gain support from banks or credit unions or whatever financial institutions?
Now that's a collaboration that is even ongoing now with the Ministry of Small Business Entrepreneurship and the Creative Economy. We do training courses, whether it is in financial management, marketing, bookkeeping, and we are now training our young business people and creatives, as they are young business people as well, to be able to meet these financial institutions where they are. And one of our main programs is building bankable businesses, conducted with the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank and the Ministry of Small Business and Entrepreneurship, where we are training our young businessmen and women to be able to walk into a bank confidently, understanding what the bank needs, understanding what they need to present, and be prepared to do so as a businessman or woman. And I think that is going very well.
If I could add something here too, even from the Intellectual Property Office standpoint, one of the projects that we are hoping to participate in this year is partnering with CARICOM and the EU IP office. There is a regional project called CARIPI, and one of the things that we will be looking at is valuing IP. So IP valuation for financial institutions. So quite simply, if you have a catalog of songs and there's some value that you've been getting from it, you've been getting streaming royalties, you've been getting your performance fees, things of that nature, then we will be able to helping the banks put a figure on your intellectual property, so that you will be able to use your IP, your intellectual property as collateral. So it really can help persons who may not be cash, liquid. So you want to be able to really say that your intellectual property has financial value that even the banks will recognize. So from our office standpoint, we will be looking at that. There was a meeting that was actually planned late last year, but it had to be postponed, including the ministries of finance, the central bank, so that we get our banks on board as well. Because what is the point of all of this if you still can't take your gains to the bank and leverage it?
And Ms. Webb, with so many disciplines supported in the Creative Arts Center, how do you ensure, as the Director of Creative Economy, that each discipline represented would get equal support?
In terms of what?
From the government, from the ministry standpoint, from Creative Economy itself.
Support at the center?
Yes. In terms of being able to access whatever training, being able to get assistance in terms of developmental tools or technical facilities, the skills and stuff.
Right,
like
so just let me clarify. So in terms of the laboratories, it's not to say that it would only be a education, like a center where they come to get training. Even companies that have their own training classes get to rent spaces and have their own classes there. So it's not a situation where the department only is putting on programs and we're expecting creatives to come, but persons who already have companies or know how to teach can put on their respective sessions there and so forth. So it's not I don't want you to think, or the general public to think of it, that it's creative economy housing an educational program. Well, that can be a part of it. It's more so that there are spaces that are there that all of our creatives have the accessibility to create there.
And beyond that, if I might just add, if you look at the design of the facility, it's designed exactly for that. There's recording studios for recording artists, there are dance studios for dance artists, there's culinary studios for culinary artists. So the idea of them having their own space within the center already answers part of that question, because accessing their own space gives them the right to that, that freedom.
And I would imagine that there will be strategies for cross-collaboration.
Correct.
Because, as you mentioned, you started off in terms of song and then you became a producer, so I can have a song, but just across the room or across the hall is the film persons. I can go down and say, help me to do a video.
It's a creative hub, so you go there to find your people and collaborate and network with those people.
Correct, and that's why I said on the groundbreaking, we are creating an ecosystem. Yes.
Now, in terms of servicing persons from different backgrounds now, and not just creatives itself, but also persons who are going to be attending functions at the center, what is in place to ensure that there is equity and that there's accessibility? For instance, persons with disabilities, everyone, they have their different challenges. Persons who are from different cultures, how will that be accommodated in the National Creative Arts Center?
Right, so the center was built with the sustainability in mind, differently abled persons in mind, in from the inception. So it's not an afterthought that was done. So all of the access the accessibility to it, one of the actual foundation or the pillars they had was sensory. So they took in consideration all of the areas, not just sustainability, sensory, accessibility, inclusivity, and so forth in building the Creative Arts Center. And it's an approach where if anybody wants to host an event, they can come, and we haven't yet dealt with the management side of the Creative Arts Center, which will be done, thereafter, closer to the completion. So I can't speak on behalf of that as the Department of Creative Economy, but we will, as the Creative Economy, we are definitely ensuring that all of our cultures, I think SKNIS is a melting pot. I don't think we actually have problems with persons of different cultures putting on different events. We are welcoming environment and culture here, and it's everybody's space in the creative economy, and no matter where they come from, no matter the age, no matter what ability they have.
I think part of the process in the task force as well, we did pose a lot of practical questions. If somebody is in a wheelchair, how do they get from here to here? Making sure that those lines are always clear so that persons who use wheelchairs would be able to access all of the venues. We did emergency exercises. What happens if somebody faints here? How will the ambulance get from there to there? So there were a lot of practical exercises as part of it to make sure that we make space for all sorts of eventualities.
And I mean, just simply put, as you've heard across it, it's a space open to everyone. It really is. It's open to everyone to participate. It's open to everyone to enjoy. And so, differently abled, different cultures, it's your space, open to all.
All right, Mrs. Knight, talk to us a bit now about the intellectual property that comes along with all of these creatives that are going to be housed under one roof. It must be almost like a free-for-all in terms of your department, that we have everybody in one place. It makes your work a lot easier.
It makes your job harder, actually, because now you have to go from room to room to room. But it's fine. But it actually even goes to the question that you asked earlier about the mindset. And a huge part of changing people's mindset is education. So people understand that the output that they have from their creative exploits in this space, you're creating property. So you have to be clear, like the minister said, about ownership. Who owns it if I use the creative arts equipment, things of that nature, making sure we have clear policies about these things and people understand their rights as well, because we see a lot of persons get taken advantage of because they don't understand what rights they have. So it's going to be I wouldn't say a challenge, but a charge for our office to make sure that people understand the value of what they're creating, the rights and responsibilities that come with creating, so that you can benefit from it, but also you don't infringe on other people's rights as well.
Mm-hmm. And as you speak about the infringement, because when there is that close cross collaboration that we spoke about, that we would like to see develop within that center, then it becomes a situation where, like, is there going to be a share of the pie? Who gets what, if in terms of royalties or any sort of revenue that is generated? Is that something that your office would look at?
Well, one of the things we have to be clear, this is something that the creators themselves will have to determine. So Roberitine and I may have a different sharing strategy. When she goes and makes something with you, she might decide give you 90 and she'll just take 10. So it's going to be up to the creators themselves to determine how that sharing is going to take place. But it's what is most important, and something that I see a lot with our creators, they don't even realize that they have rights to be noted as a co-contributor. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be important that people just have that basic understanding. that's going to be the game changer. That education, that is going to be the game changer, I believe.
And that goes back to the type of training that you're speaking in terms of what the IPO offers, and also that collaboration with CARICOM and the EU as well too.
Yes.
Because as we speak about transferring the creative aspect of our skills and our talents into economic assets that makes us bankable, all of that will come within the training.
It will come within the training. It's just for our people. I think what we need to change mindsets is education, opportunity, willpower. Once you have those three things, you understand what you're doing, you understand where you could go, and you have the energy to push it yourself, because that's something, unfortunately, we see a lot. People depend on other people to take care of them. So you think the IP office is going to come in and do your contracts for you. No, we can't do your contracts for you. You have to do your contracts yourself. We'll probably teach you what should be in your contracts, but then you have to be the one who insists, no, I contributed to this song, I contributed to this video, I need to be listed as one of the co-creators. So once we have that education, the space is offering the opportunity for you to create. All you need is your willpower.
Minister, in terms of the groundbreaking as we established, it was on January 9th. When can we expect construction? Is there a timeline when they're supposed to begin?
So different phases of the construction essentially has begun, right? The actual physical ground clearing should begin in a few weeks, but the background work to prepare for that, the movement of equipment, all of these things, preparation of tools and hiring of personnel, a lot of that has begun. And so that groundbreaking that you saw was groundbreaking. It was actually commencement of construction. And so yes, a lot of background work still is going on, but the physical work that you will see will commence probably in a few weeks.
And the job opportunities from that facility, from that project itself, it must be something that is going to be tremendous.
Of course, like I said, when you look at the scale of the building, it tells you offhand the type of the quantum jobs that will be necessary, and then the spin-offs. Because where you have a site with hundreds of workers, that's hundreds of people to feed, and so our caterers and our vendors will then have an audience, and then at the end of the week, most people who work hard want to enjoy themselves, and so our entertainment and our bars and restaurants will, and then when you have money in your pocket, you want to look good, and so our stores, and you see the spin-offs that's going to happen from that.
And you also mentioned something that I think is very important as well too, the transfer of knowledge.
Yes.
From our local contractors here, learning more modern techniques in terms of the way that buildings are constructed, or making buildings more sustainable. That's something that is very important for them to learn as well too, as this transition again to a sustainable island state takes place.
Correct. And what also should be noted is that in the contract with the Creative Arts Center is to build it, but also to maintain it for a number of years. And during that maintenance period, we're actually training our people to be able to repair any damages and sustain it for longevity. And so yes, that was a fundamental part of the contract, take ownership of it for years to come.
No, it's a question that I hesitate to ask because I know timelines can be very tricky. One natural disaster, a hurricane, or even a downpour of rain can really set back projects. We saw example what happened with the Kim Collins Stadium.
Correct.
There was rain, there was rain, there was rain. It was difficult to complete the track. You can't lay a track when there's rain, when there's all that moisture. And so if you could just give us a general sense of when we can expect to see the construction work and the center completed. Is it maybe you could narrow it down in terms of years as opposed to necessarily want to pin it to a month per se?
Well, as I am not the contractor, I only could go with what the contractor says, right? And the contractor is saying just over 2 years they should have the center complete.
Okay. All right. So talk to us then a bit about the benchmarks or the indicators, Ms. Webbe. You can jump in here in terms of how will you measure the success of the creative economy in the years that follow in terms of having that creative arts center open and fully functional?
Right. I think it can be measured by a number of different things. It can be measured by the number of creatives that use the space, the number of programs or conferences that happen. You know, people come in, regional conferences and international conferences, competitions that are hosted here, festivals that are hosted here with an arena being able to host 3,000 plus. Then we also have this side of the commercial spaces, more businesses opening, and you know, it being a touristic attraction as well, where persons now would not just be, you know, they can end their 9 to 5 and say, I'm going to work full time at the Creative Arts Center because our tourists need you know, performances to see throughout the day and so forth. So there's a lot of programming elements that can have a lot of revenue generation or economic activity across the board, and I think that in itself would kind of give you an idea of what's to come.
Mm-hmm. And interestingly, Minister, as Ms. Webb just spoke about our tourists and the entertainment, of course an announcement was made in terms of St. Kitts and Nevis becoming a hub for a cruise, one of the particular cruise lines. I'm not right, and so that opens up another world of opportunity.
It does. It does, because here you have persons that would have to board a ship from the island and would have to be here probably a day or two in advance. And so that forces, when you think about these cruise ships and their capacity, usually 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,000 persons on board. And so imagine those persons having to transit St. Kitts, stay on island for a night or two, and be immersed in whatever we have to offer.
And the reality is that when our tourists come to our shore, they're looking for something to do. And it's no longer about sand and beaches, but what do we present in our creative arts and our actual culture for them to enjoy. And so I know that having this creative arts center is going to definitely drive more of our tourism industry.
Indeed.
Right. Final comments. We're out of time for our program, but we have about 3 minutes left, so we'll get some final comments. Ms. Williams, Knight, we'll start with you.
Well, as someone who's been to several consultations about performing arts centers in St. Kitts and Nevis over the last 25 years or so, I'm really happy that we're at the point that we're at. You know, I still have a bit of hesitation because I don't think I'll fully exhale until it's done and open and usable. But I really commend the government for getting us to this point. Every election, that's all I've asked for. Performing Arts Center, we need spaces as creatives because we have so much talent in St. Kitts and Nevis. People just need space to just express and attract, and I think that the center offers that great opportunity. So I look forward to the next 10 years of what will come creatively.
Thank you.
Ms. Webb?
I don't know if there's much to say, but I'm really appreciative, and not just as the director of creative economy, but also a dancer, a pageant girly, someone, a lover of the arts. There's finally a space. I know what it feels like, or continue to feel like, to not have a space, even having, you know, my own dance company and you know, the challenges that you have there. So I know what the potential is, and I'm really excited for it, and I'm happy that I can greatly contribute to this development.
And for me, I think most of us understand what this means. From the creation of island expression, trying to create a home for our local artists, how many years ago? Almost 20 years ago, actually, now. To now, being the minister that is able to bring this to the fore, knowing that on my first presentation on acceptance of moving into public office or public life, I said at my first presentation when I was
here today
that this is something that I will seek to deliver to the country. And here we are, actually less than 4 years since that announcement.
of this center.
Here we are, delivering the construction of such a center.
So it's fair to say, Minister, it's a dream come true.
Very much a dream come true. Very much.
Certainly look forward to seeing the buildings, the different stages of construction, as you mentioned, the buildings go up and being able to admire and to behold. And really, I think once we begin to see it going up, it will give us a greater appreciation as well too for what the strategy is behind it. And I know that the Ministry, of course, will continue the public relations drive, the education drive to get persons prepared. Because it doesn't make sense to have a facility unless the people are using it. And there's been that demand for years and years, Minister, as you mentioned, in terms of animal expressions. I still have on my Instagram profile photos when I go to one of the shows there. And even then it was a challenge for me because I think it was upstairs.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that anymore. I want to go anywhere piece. So certainly we would like to thank you for coming on the program and being able to share this information. Unfortunately, we didn't get to go through some of the other things that we had, but there's opportunities to come back as well.
Indeed, and before we wrap this all up, I must give thanks and credit to the Cabinet of Ministers for supporting this, to Prime Development for leading that development charge and getting this done, but also to the Citizenship by Investment Unit, who would have been fundamental in helping to put this together, as well as Skipper, our investment promotion agency. All together, we have worked on this to bring this to life, and I'm happy with what I'm seeing here.
Honourable Samal, Duggins, Roberitine, Webbe, Jihan, Williams, Knight, thank you so much for joining us for this edition of InFocus.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
We'd like to thank you, viewers and listeners, also for joining us for this edition. We trust that you will join us next week at the same place, at the same time for another edition. Next week, we'll actually be delving into a bit about the development of the cannabis industry, and we are going to be discussing with the new CEO and also with a consultant who's going to be presenting on that. So if you can get your questions in early, you can direct message us on Facebook. Until then, I'm Ian Richards. Remember, it's InFocus, it's your government, it's your business.
Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.